there have been many people who have gone to work for NASA or Caltech or any other scientific or learning institution, and well, even the medical field, for example. I can even tell you one story where DeForest Kelley was told that a young man became a doctor all because of Dr. McCoy himself and his compassion towards others and treating others.
And I think I remember maybe a few episodes of the original Star Trek where, you know, they would go into the sick bay and it was like, you know, automatic arms were coming over and, you know, shooting down and healing wounds and stuff. And we're getting to that point now with our medical technology.
Exactly. As a matter of fact, I would like to point out that the diagnostic medical beds that were shown in the original series, the United States military has conducted a field study into such medical devices for curing people and monitoring their life signs in general.
They're either making the machines or they have made the machines that are going to be basically doing brain surgery.
Because
it can be set, you know, so precisely and everything. And of course, if you think of that in your mind, if you see it in your mind, you go right back to Star Trek. You know, because they were capable of that type of, you know, medical attention.
Absolutely. Even right down to the hypo spray itself that Dr. McCoy had used. There have been studies that have looked into the use of such hypo sprays becoming a reality. And I guess when you get right down to it, we owe a lot of the ideas of such technology to the original Star Trek. We owe a great deal to that.
Yeah. And another aspect of life imitating art, of course, the space shuttle program itself, at least partly inspired by Trek, and the first shuttle, of course, being the Enterprise. And all of the original actors, as you'll recall, were there when the Enterprise was brought out at the ceremony.
Back in 1976, when Leonard Nimoy, DeForest Kelley, James Doohan, and all the rest, except for Bill Shatner, he was not there for reasons I don't recall, but they were there when the Space Shuttle Enterprise was unveiled at Edwards during a ceremony. And what's interesting is that the name for the shuttle came from all the fans writing letters to President Gerald Ford at the time and, as I recall, NASA, saying we want our first spacecraft named after the Enterprise. And that's what they got. A very historical day.
A lasting cultural imprint that continues today and will continue onward, no doubt.
Absolutely. I think Star Trek really has been a powerful motivator in all types of fields, be it science, medicine, technology, right down to even arts and entertainment. It really has been a very powerful motivator, an inspiration, and it has inspired many to create wonderful things and inspire the imagination. For lack of a better description, it inspires to cultivate our mind and develop our intellects for the good of everybody in the world.
Whoopi Goldberg was inspired by Lieutenant Uhura, and if you recall the story, you might, Christopher, recount for us the experience where Nichelle Nichols met Martin Luther King at a cocktail party and a little exchange that they had.
This was during Star Trek's first season, and Nichelle Nichols, for reasons will probably be only known to her, she was contemplating leaving Star Trek, and she met Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. at a social function, and as it turns out, somebody introduced Dr. King to Nichelle, and Dr. King told Nichelle, he said, we can't thank you enough for representing us on the show. It's really wonderful. And Nichelle was very flattered, and she did confess, though, that she had thought about leaving the show, and Dr. King said, no, you cannot leave. You cannot. What you've done today has been an inspiration for many and a stepping stone for all of us in our fight for civil rights. You become a role model.
I've heard that story, or I read about it.
Mhm. And because of that, she stayed on the show, and she later confessed to Gene Roddenberry that whole story. And Gene Roddenberry started crying, and he said, "Thank God somebody knows what I'm trying to do here and understands it." And hence, that's why Star Trek has been so successful. The morality tales. It's essentially science fiction, a science fiction morality tale.
And was it Shatner and Nichelle that had the first black-white online or on television kiss?
Yeah, I believe it was. Yes, back in 1968.
Yeah. That was a very moving episode. Very moving. Very. I don't know. It was just stunning. It was real stunning. Of course, I was a kid.
It really truly was. It was history in the making for network television at the time, breaking down that one boundary. And even though Plato's Stepchildren, the name of the episode where that occurred, it was controversial on some other levels. It really changed the way television was made and done forever. And it set a whole new standard. And the people behind the episode, as well as Roddenberry himself, they're to be commended for taking that next step and taking such a huge risk. Because the political social climate, as we all know, in the late 60s was very, unfortunately, very turbulent. Yeah, very
unstable.
Kind
of like today.
Oh, yeah. Many were wondering back in the 60s if they were going to live to see 30 or even beyond that with the way things were going. But it certainly changed a lot of things at that time.
Hey, caller on the line from California. Good evening, California.
Hi, good evening. How you doing?
Hello there.
Doing great. Do you have a question or a comment for Christopher Dalton? We're discussing Star Trek.
Star Trek. Yes, the aliens. Like Star Trek is based on, is it based like what, like the Lost Bible? Like how they look, like the Book of Enoch. Like when you watch Star Trek and the Book of Enoch describes how some of the aliens look. They were pale. They had white golden hair. White golden hair.
White golden hair.
Yeah. The Book of Enoch. The Book of Enoch describes certain types of movies, even some from Star Trek.
Mhm. White golden. Are you trying to figure out what? I'm not starting to understand your question, ma'am. Can you repeat it again?
Yes. Go ahead and clarify that question if you would for us, caller. Hello.
Yeah, I think she hung up.
Maybe we lost her.
Yeah.
It sounded like it would have been an interesting question. I also had some difficulty understanding it. I think she was talking about color or hue. I don't know if she was talking about.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
Hello?
I said yes. It's proven scientific that everything that related to the Lost Bible, they bring it into movies. That's all I'm just saying. I just want to know if it's true or not because, like, when you go into the Lost Bible, they describe all these aliens, these gods, of who was here, how they look, and then they put it into the scientific movies, even Star Trek, to describe what they look like in the Bible or before a time when they was here on Earth, because they live upon us on Earth, and people just don't realize that.
Uh-huh.
I think many writers of Star Trek.
Because Harvard University, they talk about it. Even Berkeley talk about it, how aliens live on Earth.
I think I understand what you're trying to describe, ma'am.
Yeah.
That's a good question. Rich, what do you think?
It's based on that.
I think that writers are many times inspired by many sources, and I think there's been a long-standing belief, at least during the past century, that we have been visited perhaps by extraterrestrials, and who knows? You know, the way our government covers up things, who knows about Area 51? It's quite possible that they know things, that there has been contact with other alien cultures, and that there are advanced races out there. And Roddenberry saw that, and Star Trek is all about us reaching out. New life, new civilizations, and that's what the whole theme of Star Trek is to embrace the universe. So if there are others here, I hope that they mean well. If in fact we have been visited, you know, and I hope that if our government ever does come clean about alien contact, that it will be of a peaceful and cordial nature, and we can definitely be optimistic and hopeful the way Gene Roddenberry was.
Absolutely. What you just mentioned, though, in the episode "Who Mourns for Adonis," as well as the animated episode "How Sharper Than a Serpent's Tooth," the concept of extraterrestrials visiting Earth before in Earth's past had been addressed in those two, and both dealt with that topic very, very brilliantly, I might add, in terms of I guess you could say how such aliens created such various mythologies after having visited Earth in general, and how they could have influenced cultures and so on and so forth.
Assignment Earth even addresses the idea of alien intervention in modern times with Gary 7, you know, and that's also something very, very interesting.
Yep, absolutely. The concept from Assignment Earth, the idea that extraterrestrials have visited Earth in order to protect Earth, if not help mankind evolve for the better and become a more mature species. It's an interesting concept, one that was even addressed in the science fiction classic, The Day the Earth Stood Still. Assignment Earth drew a lot from that film, and the results were quite brilliant. I mean, who's to say whether or not aliens are here on Earth or have visited Earth and have tried to prevent mankind from destroying itself and tried to have it evolve into something better and nobler than it ever was. It's an intriguing concept, one that's very, very fascinating, no pun intended.
and Roddenberry certainly has given us an optimistic vision of the future that I hope all of us can hang on to.
Absolutely. Especially in these times we live in, hopefully such a future will happen. Hopefully it'll help improve the social political climate of the world, if not improve mankind, improve it for the better. I mean, we live in a very violent world right now, and there is a day that goes by that we're dealing with such problems on such levels, and hopefully many years, if not many centuries from now, things will get better for all of us. And hopefully Star Trek will continue to point us in the right direction.
And Christopher, as our caller from Illinois has left and California has also hung up, I want to thank you very much on that optimistic note for being a guest again tonight. And Christopher, I'd like to have you back again in the future.
Thanks, I like that. And thanks for having me back on. I enjoyed our show tonight. I look forward to our next one. And I'd also like in conclusion, wish everybody, every Star Trek fan, a happy 50th anniversary in the celebration of Gene Roddenberry's original Space Odyssey.
And as Spock would say, live long and prosper.
Absolutely. May you all live long and prosper.
Good evening, all. Good night.
Good night.